Hello students, myself Vinita Kasturi from JNPU College. Today we are going to continue with the first year practical PUC practical. In the previous practicals session, we had discussed about the introduction of microscope, where we had studied the parts of compound microscope, and I had also discussed about what are the equipments present in the dissection box. So today we'll be continuing with the new practical, next practical, which is morphology in plants. So before we go with what morphology in plants, you should know what is the meaning of morphology. What is the meaning of morphology? So today is the practical which we will be discussing, study of morphology in plants. So what is morphology? Morphology, you can split this term into two words. That is morpho, which means forms, external features. Okay, and logy means study. So morphology can be defined as a study of physical forms, or you can tell it as external features or structure of an organism. So in biology subject, we will be studying about the external features of both plants as well as animals. So today we will be discussing about the plant section, that is which are the different types of plants based on their morphological features. So what is the use of morphology? Why morphology is important? See, in your previous chapter, in your theory classes, we have discussed about biological classification. Okay, in biological classification, most important thing is we should be able to recognize the organisms. We should be able to recognize the organisms. So, how are you going to recognize and classify the organisms? It is based on their morphological features. That is, depending on their external features, you're going to classify the organisms. So it is very useful for usual identification of organisms. So in your practical session, we will be discussing about different organisms and what are their external features. So already we have discussed in the theory class that living organisms, you can divide them basically into two types. That is organisms which are prokaryotic and organisms which are eukaryotic. So in chapter number 2, biological classification, we have already discussed how five kingdom classification is done. That is R.H. Whitaker has given five kingdom classification. Already this is completed, and based on their characteristics, we have got five kingdoms. That is kingdom Monera, kingdom Protista, kingdom Fungi, or you can use the term Mycota, and another that is kingdom Plantae and kingdom Animalia. We have already done this in the theory part. So how it is classified? So first and foremost thing is depending on prokaryotic and eukaryotic cell. The cell which do not have well developed nucleus or nuclear membrane is absent. Such organisms come under kingdom Monera. Then eukaryotic includes the organisms which have well developed nucleus or there is a presence of nuclear membrane. In that, again, we will be studying about unicellular organisms and multicellular organisms. So unicellular organisms include kingdom Protista. And again in multicellular, depending on the presence of cell wall and absence of cell wall, again organisms are divided into photosynthetic and that is photosynthetic means which are phototrophic, which prepare their own food, which includes kingdom Plantae. Another name for kingdom Plantae is kingdom Metaphyta. Then there are some organisms with a cell wall, but they are heterotrophic in nature, means which depend on other organism for the food. So which includes kingdom Meta, that is fungi or Mycota. Then the organisms which are multicellular and which are without cell wall, those organisms are included under kingdom Animalia or kingdom Metazoa. Okay, so these are considering these characteristics, organisms are classified. So in your practical under morphology in plants or organisms, The first organism to be studied is bacteria. So already we know what are the characteristics of kingdom Monera. See, bacteria, if you go into the systematic position classification of bacteria, it comes under kingdom Monera, class Eubacteria. So in the theory class, we have already studied that kingdom Monera can be divided into different groups, that is Archaebacteria, Eubacteria, then Cyanobacteria, Mycoplasma. Okay, so in Archaebacteria already have studied that it is further divided into halophils, thermoacidophils, and methanogens, whereas Eubacteria is further divided into autotrophic bacteria and heterotrophic bacteria. So what are bacteria? What are the characteristics of bacteria? So bacteria is a prokaryote. They do not have well-developed nucleus. So bacteria are unicellular. Cell wall is absent, okay, and there is absence of cell bond organelles. Cell organelles are absent, like mitochondria, nucleus, Golgi complex or Golgi bodies, and plastids. These all are absent in bacterial cell. There is a cell organelle which is termed as lysosomes. So they are present in bacterial cell. Okay. And if we go into the detailed study of bacteria can be further divided into different types based on their shape. Okay. Different shapes like globular coculus. Then you have rod shape, which is called as a bacillus. Then you have spiral shaped spirulum, and comma shape, that is called as vibrio or vibrium. Vibrio is the plural word, vibrium is the singular word. Okay, so depending on the shape, bacteria can be further divided or named according to their shapes. So what is mesosomes? I have mentioned just now mesosomes, presence of mesosomes in the bacterial cell. What are mesosomes? So in a prokaryotic cell, a special membranous structure, mesosomes are found. So you can see here in the slide, I've shown you the picture of bacterial cell, and you can even see the internal structure of this bacteria. So what are the mesosomes? I have labeled here, that is mesosome. It is found, it is an extension of plasma membrane. Okay, it's an extension of plasma membrane inside the cell. Okay, so these mesosomes are helpful in respiration and as well as in secretion processes. It's an extension of plasma membrane. Okay, they also help in increasing the surface of the plasma membrane, as a result to increase the enzymatic content of the cell. So these are some one of the special characteristic of bacterial cell, that is presence of lysosomes. Then there is a cytoplasm. Then you have the plasma membrane. Plasma membrane, again, it is consisting of cell wall. It is covered by a cell wall, and cell wall in turn is covered by capsule, a hard covering, which is the outermost covering of the bacterial cell. Okay, first is the plasma membrane, then there is a cell wall, then there is a capsule, okay, which is a hard covering. Capsule, the main function of capsule is to give protection. If the bacteria is present in any toxic atmosphere, see, bacteria are cosmopolitan. There is no any area on the earth where you don't find bacteria. Bacteria are found everywhere. You can find bacteria in a region where there is a volcanic eruption also. And you can find the bacteria in iceberg also. So they have the ability to resist extreme temperature. It can be low temperature or it can be high temperature. Why? Because of the hard covering. Because of the hard covering present on the bacterial cell. Then they have a flagellum, which is a locomotory organ. Okay, and going to the internal structure of bacteria, here you can see there is a nucleoid. Why it is termed a nucleoid? Why they have not used the term nucleus? Because the genetic material is just floating in the cytoplasm. So DNA, which is present in the cytoplasm, it is not bounded by any membrane. It is just floating in the cytoplasm of the cell. Okay, so we use the term nucleoid, which is made up of DNA. Okay, deoxyribose nucleic acid. So this is the structure of bacteria, which is a prokaryotic cell. Okay, which is a prokaryotic cell. This is the first specimen which you have for morphology. This picture, what you can see here on the slide, the first one, this is the bacterial view under the microscope. When you see under the microscope, the bacterial cells will look like this. Okay, they will look like this. There are plenty of bacteria here. Many bacteria are present, because whenever they come in contact with a nutritive medium, they will undergo multiplication within no time. So they can multiply very rapidly at very fast rate. They undergo multiplication. Okay, so depending on the shape, I just told you that there are different types of bacteria. I've just shown you some bacteria depending on the shape. Okay, spirula, which is spiral shape. Then you have vibrio, which is curved shape. Then you have cocci bacteria, which are oval shaped, right? So based on them, based on their shape, the bacteria are divided. They are rod shaped, they are circular, oval shaped. So depending on the shape, bacteria are given names. They are named after their shapes. So this is about the bacteria, okay, and their characteristics. They come under kingdom Monera class Eubacteria. The next specimen is Oscillatoria. The systematic position of this specimen is, it comes under kingdom Monera, division Cyanobacteria, class Cyanophyceae. Okay, so this is the classification of Oscillatoria. It is a type of Monera under kingdom Monera. So common it is called as blue-green algae. You can see the picture of this that is Oscillatoria, and this is Oscillatoria, which is seen in fresh water, that is in rivers and lakes, just floating on the surface of the water. Okay, when you see under the microscope, if you take just a small portion of this and mount under the microscope, you can see they are made up of thallus. What is the meaning of thallus now? Thallus is defined as undifferentiated plant body, or you can use it as undifferentiated vegetative body. Okay, so thallus, what is the shape of the thallus in case of Oscillatoria? Is it is filamentous. It is filamentous, it is unbranched, and it is multicellular. So these features you can see only when you observe under the microscope, that thallus is filamentous, unbranched, and it is multicellular. Okay, and how they are arranged? Every cell is arranged. Cells are arranged one above the other like a pack of cards. Like a pack of cards. If one cell is present here, it is placed one after the other. Every cell is placed one above the other. And cell wall is very defined. Each cell has a definite cell wall. Okay, so this is what you see with your naked eyes. But when you mount under the microscope, this is the picture what you see under the microscope. So you can see they are filamentous, okay, placed one above the other, one above the other, like a pack of cards. Okay, when you see the diagrammatic representation of this, it will look like this. It is every cell is placed one above the other. You can see it one above the other, and there is a cytoplasm, there is a chloroplast inside this. Okay, and this is the diagrammatic representation of Oscillatoria. But when you see under the microscope, you have to identify Oscillatoria with this picture. Okay, this is how it looks under the microscope. Okay, so just taking a small part of this and mounting under the microscope, you'll be able to see it like this. Now, I've shown you one more diagram here of oscillatoria, how it undergoes a movement. The name oscillatoria is given by the movement what it shows. It shows oscillatory movement. It shows oscillatory movement. You know oscillatory movement. Okay, whenever it comes in contact with any water, waves or anything, it shows oscillatory movements. So it is named as oscillatoria, which is a blue-green algae. It's a blue-green algae coming under division Cyanobacteria, class Cyanophyceae. Okay, so this is about oscillatoria, which is the second specimen to be studied under the practical. The next specimen is Spirogyra, which is commonly called as water silk. It is called as water silk. Okay. Now, the systematic position, it comes under kingdom Plantae, division Thylophyta, class Chlorophyceae. Okay. Coming to the characteristics of Spirogyra, it's a green colored algae commonly found in stagnant freshwater bodies. Stagnant means standing water bodies. Freshwater means rivers, not rivers you can tell it as lakes and ponds. There you find this Spirogyra. These are also filamentous, unbranched, slimy to touch, very soft to touch. It looks like a silk if you touch it. So it is called as a water silk. Okay. Here the filaments are composed of number of long cylindrical cells placed one above the other. In the same way it is, the cells are arranged, how it is arranged in oscillatoria. In the same way the Spirogyra cells are also arranged. They are also filamentous. They are also long and they are made up of cylindrical shaped cells and they are in single row they are arranged. How do you characterize them? What are the unique characteristic is of Spirogyra is the cells are characterized by long spiral ribbon shaped chloroplast with several pyrenoids. In the next slide, you will come to know how it looks. This is the structure of Spirogyra. If you take a single cell, you can see the cell is covered by cell membrane, which is nothing but plasma membrane, which in turn is covered by cell wall, very rigid cell wall, okay, which is made up of cellulose. In turn, it is covered by mucilage, that is mucus secretion, a layer which is mucus secretion is present. Means it gives protection from the water body. See, if there is no mucilaginous covering, it will get decomposed. Mucilaginous layer will help, it will not allow the filament or the Spirogyra to get decomposed. It gives a protection. It's like a waterproof. Okay, it's a mucilaginous means fluid, mucus secretion. Okay, inside the cell you can find the chloroplast. The chloroplast is arranged like a ribbon, spirally arranged. Okay, it is spirally arranged. And the cytoplasm you can see, this is the cytoplasm. Here you can see it is written here, cytoplasm. Cytoplasm is towards the periphery, towards the boundary, because it has very large vacuole at the center. You can see the nucleus here. Then this is all cytoplasm. And in between you have vacuoles, very large vacuoles are present. Okay. When you go into the detailed study of this chloroplast, this is the chloroplast which is ribbon-like arranged inside the cell. They have pyrenoids. These are the pyrenoids. What is the function of pyrenoids is, they are small micro compartments. They are small micro compartments which helps in photosynthesis. They are the main center where the photosynthesis takes place. They are micro compartments in the chloroplast. Okay. So this is about the structure of Spirogyra. Okay, when you see under the microscope, they will look like this. They will look like this. Spirogyra will look like this. Okay, see, this is the Spirogyra which is found in the rocks. If you just take a small quantity of this, put it on the slide and observe under the compound microscope, you can see the structure like this. You can see this is the chloroplast, which is arranged like a ribbon. Which is arranged like a ribbon. You can see very nice it is to see. Okay, the chloroplast which is arranged like a ribbon, spirally arranged, or you can use the term spirally arranged inside the cell. Okay, so this is about Spirogyra. Next is Rhizopus. Next is Rhizopus. So Rhizopus systematic position is, it comes under kingdom fungi, division Eumycota, class Zygomycetes. Zygomycetes. Okay, already you have studied kingdom fungi and which are the different classifications under kingdom fungi. So Rhizopus, you know that in case of fungi, the body of the fungi is called as mycelium, okay, which is made up of thread-like structures called hyphae, which is one of the important characteristic of kingdom fungi or mycota, that the vegetative plant body is called as a mycelium, and it is made up of a minute network called as hyphae. When you go into the detailed structure of hyphae, hyphae are tubular, multinucleated, and without any septa. Means there is no any compartments, there is no any division, and they are made up of septa. Okay. Some hyphae are horizontal and grow parallel on the surface of the substratum. Substratum is, you can consider it as a soil. So some hyphae, they will grow horizontal, okay, parallel to the surface of the substratum, and they are called as stoloniferous hyphae. Whereas some hyphae grow downwards inside the substratum, inside the soil, and they are called as rhizoidal hyphae. Rhizoidal is, you can consider it as root-like structures. Okay, stoloniferous hyphae you can consider them as stem-like structures in case of fungi. Whereas this rhizophytal fungi or hyphae, they have some vertically growing hyphae called as sporangiophores. They have vertical growing structures called as sporangiophores. So in the next slide, you can see what is the structure of Rhizopus. This is a Rhizopus. You can see these are rhizoids, the hyphae which grow inside the substratum. Then this is the hyphae which is growing horizontal on the surface of the substratum. And these are the hyphae which grow erect on the substratum, above the substratum. And they are called as sporangiophores, which consist of a structure called as sporangium. Okay, this is one sporangium. There are many sporangium. We use a plural word as sporangias. Okay, which consist of spores. They will produce spores inside the structure, and the spores are released on maturity. After releasing, these spores will go and fall on the substratum, other substratum, and they will grow into a new rhizopus. They will grow into a new rhizopus. So this is the structure of rhizopus. Okay. Basically, they are made up of mycelium. Mycelium is made up of hyphae, and depending on the structure, there are different types of hyphae. Okay. So this is the picture of rhizopus seen under the microscope. This is how they look. These are sporangiums. Okay, these are the sporangiums where the spores are produced. Okay, I have shown you a picture of a bread with a rhizopus. This is the fungus which is growing on the bread. When you take batches of bread and keep it for long duration, you can find the fungus growing on the bread. Okay, so this is nothing but rhizopus, which grows on the bread, and commonly it is called as bread mold. This is the microscopic picture of the fungus which is on the bread. Okay, you can find the sporangia grown, right? So there are two types of rhizopus species which are called as Rhizopus nigricans and Rhizopus stolonifer. Uh, Rhizopus nigricans is called as bread mold, whereas Rhizopus stolonifer is called as black red mold. Means it is blackish in color. Okay, these are the two species belonging to the same genus which are found growing on the bread. Growing on the bread. Okay, which is commonly called as bread mold. So this is about the rhizopus, students. So today we have covered total bacteria. First we have started with bacteria, okay, and then we have moved with Oscillatoria, Spirogara, and Rhizopus. So we have covered total four. We have covered four specimens under morphology in plants. So in the next practical, I'll be continuing with the same one. We will proceed with some other specimens under this practical. So I will conclude today's practical and will continue in the next. Thank you for watching the